Going over a few things with Kenny this morning, and it's been quite an adventure this year for Louisville Athletics. We started out with cross country, finishing 7th in the nation. We won the volleyball championship in the ACC, and for 24 out of 26 years, they've been in the NCAA. Field hockey finished in the top 25. Football won their bowl games, projected to be in the top 25 next year. We finished 16th in the AP, beat 2 Final Four teams. We was valued for the 15th straight year as the most profitable, according to Forbes, basketball program in the nation once again. And we were also valued, the #1 valued program in the nation, over $300 million, which Kenny gets 50% of that. We've won 20 games, 14 straight years, and there's only been 4 teams to do that: us, Kansas, Duke, and Gonzaga. And the women's hoop finished 8th in the nation, and there'll be a preseason top 25. Rowing finished ranked. Men's and women's swimming was ranked 8th and 11th. Women's lacrosse finished up 9th in the nation. Softball went to the NCAA again. Men's and women's golf made the NCAA tournament. Men's finished 14th in the nation, and now baseball is #2 overall seed in the nation, one of the premier baseball programs in the country, and indoor and outdoor track has competitors in the NCAA tournament. This is not, it's highly unusual to see this much success in a given year, and obviously right now we're all behind Dan McDonald with the hoping that the fortunes go great for him in baseball, because he's done an incredible job. I remember when he came here, and when he took over the program and the heights that he's now brought it to, it's quite extraordinary. So things have been quite remarkable this year. Obviously, we've gone through some tough times, but we're putting it behind us. We think with one of the most difficult schedules that we will play in my tenure here. What we tried to do with this schedule is make it as difficult as any time in my 15 years. You do that by not only playing the likes of Indiana, Kentucky, and the Battle of Atlantis, but you do it also by really researching the teams, who they have coming back, where they ranked in the RPI the year prior to that. And take 2 teams, for instance, that will open up the season with Evansville and William & Mary. They were ranked in the top 100 RPI. They have 2 and 3 starters back. The Battle of Atlantis you all know about, and then Purdue is, when we found out we were playing them, one of their players decided to come back, and another player decided to come back, and they'll probably be ranked top 7 in the nation. They finished 17th in the RPI next year, and they'll probably be ranked in the top 10, top 15. Grand Canyon won 27 games. We wanted a tough road game. We've watched them on tape. They sell out their building. It'll be the big game on their schedule. It'll prepare us for the ACC. It'll be a sold-out place, and they had it rolling last year, and they've got 3 starters back. They were much better than the team that came in here last year. As we talked about after the game, they played on a Thursday night, traveled on a Friday, and then played noon on a Saturday. That was not indicative of how good they are. We'll also play Eastern Kentucky. We've added them on the schedule as well. Is the Indiana game definite now? Did you go down there and
We're going up there this month.
Okay. Just got to iron out some things. We're going to play on New Year's Eve. We don't know the time yet. Early afternoon. It's a 2 o'clock slot, a 4 o'clock slot, or midnight. One of those 3. UK was obviously moved before Christmas to December 21st, and then the ACC Open will be around December the 28th. We'll play 2 exhibition games against Bellman and Kentucky Wesleyan. So this schedule, last year's schedule, you didn't know, I didn't know what to expect with last year's team because we brought in 250 as seniors who weren't part of the program. They turned out to be absolute gems and helped us have another successful season. But I booked a schedule thinking that it was totally going to be a rebuilding year, and then we got the 250 as seniors, and it turned out not to be. This year's schedule is extremely ambitious because I think we've got a heck of a team. I think we've got great length, great athleticism. I've been toying all spring because I've had a lot of time on my hands with thinking of a style that would fit this team best. And I'm not saying that this is in any way, because it is our 20th reunion of the 96 championship team at Kentucky, but we're going to try to play just like that basketball team. And in no means do I say we have that type of talent. But we have that type of length, that type of quickness, that type of athleticism, so we are going to play like that basketball team. And that team had great depth, also had tremendous athleticism, and could score a lot of points. And we're hoping to emulate that basketball team in terms of style of play. So with Mango and Quentin will be our captains next year. Both the young men deserve that. Mango's not young anymore, but Q is. And Mango is an emotional leader. Q's going to be the quarterback of the basketball team. He has come a long way basketball-wise and leadership-wise, and I know he'll do an outstanding job with that. We have not worked out the guys yet. We're just waiting for everybody's clearances. There's no problems. It's just a bookkeeping thing that we've got to get settled here this week. And we will have a team practice for an hour, and then 2 half-hour individual instructions. And once we do that, I'll write about the blog and give you a little insight into our new players and how they're playing, especially Tony Hicks. Dwayne Sutton is from Asheville, the transfer. I just met him for the first time, and he's got quite a body on him. He's much bigger than I anticipated. So he'll add a lot to our practices as well. So we're really super excited. As far as Shinano Onawaku, I did not advise him what to do or what not to do. I don't believe in that unless I'm asked. And the only time they asked, and that was with T. Will, and I told him he wouldn't be a first-round draft pick, and he just got up, walked out of my office, and I said, well, where are you going? You want to talk about it? He said, no, if I'm not a first-round draft pick, I'm leaving. But there are a lot of things in Shinano's favor, and I know it went into his thinking. One is this is not a strong draft. It's not a strong draft at all, and they say that next year's draft will be very strong. So it is a good time for him to strike and hopefully do what Terry Rozier did, go from the second round to the first round because of his workouts. He had some problems with the physical with the combines, and hopefully that was taken care of, and he's now moved on and moved forward and getting ready for some workouts. So we're very excited for the possibility of him moving up in the draft, and we wish him nothing but the best, and we thank him for his hard work and dedication to our program. So I've talked a lot, and I am very, very thrilled with what's going on here athletically. The thing that, with our plight this year and what we had to go through, the thing that Tom Jurich has done better than any AD I've ever witnessed is he's built a camaraderie with the coaches. I've never had such support in my life from coaches of other programs that just came in my office, just sat down and talked and just encouraged me to fight the fight. And they're just great people here. The camaraderie is very special amongst all the coaches. And as I read this over and over, all the success, the thing that's, although we may be valued at a high dollar figure, and we do produce a lot of revenue, we are no more significant than any of these other sports. We are all on the same level playing field, and we root so hard for each other, and that's what makes it very rewarding. We're all in this together, and we support each other, and that's what's such a great feeling about this university, is the way we support each other. Questions?
Rick, would you have made the same schedule if you had known Shinanu was leaving?
Yes. I don't think Shinanu hurts the team at all. I think we'll be every bit as good as we would be with him or without him. With him, he's definitely going to be a starter. Without him, we still have 3 quality centers. With him, we have one problem. Somebody's not going to play, and 1 or 2 guys could be unhappy. And you don't know who that would be. So without him, we have a perfect scenario right now of 2 players at each position. We'll have 10 to 11 really strong players to play the style that I want, that I just talked about, alluded to. But with him, he was going to play 32, 34 minutes, and somebody was going to be unhappy.
Coach, to your knowledge, was the Big Ten ACC Challenge game supposed to be Ohio State and then changed to Purdue this year?
You know, I don't know that to be accurate. All I was told was don't release anything because nothing's definite. With the players coming back, I'll tell you who I'd rather play. But Purdue will be a heck of a challenge for our front court because they've got a great front court.
What do you expect from Dangandale?
I expect big things from him. When he left, he was playing as well as any player I've had here, athletically. Now he's just got the only thing he wasn't doing great was finishing great. And I know our guys are watching a great series with Oklahoma, and as I was glued to the TV set, I sent out a text this morning to my family. We always text after the game because we're rooting for Billy, and I said I don't see a young man that has changed the game and will popularize the game as much as Steph Curry. That doesn't mean that he's any better than LeBron or some of the other players. He is, in my mind, in the last four or 5 decades, the greatest shooter I've seen and witnessed. But he's also somebody that every young kid in America can envision. If I do those drills, maybe I can be Steph Curry before the game. Outside of his annoying habit of chewing his mouthpiece, he is one of the great stars to come along in quite some time. He's just so much fun to watch, to compete. His ball handling is incredible. Last night, making plays. You have to get up in his jock because he's such an incredible shooter, which allows him to go by people and create great passes, great drives to the lane. And there's a guy that plays basically below the rim, but can get to the lane anytime he wants. He's just such an exciting player, and that whole series was great. I went to the game where the Thunder scored 133 points, and the NBA atmosphere now with Golden State and Thunder is just like going to Kansas. It's incredible. So
Dangandale can be that good.
he can be Steph Curry with no question about it. I got sidetracked a little bit, but he's not Steph Curry. To answer your question, I don't know how. It's just that he left this spring. I was very, very impressed. And I think he can be as good as any player I've coached here at Louisville because of his physical attributes, his length. He's got a 7'4", 7'5" wingspan. He's really worked very, very hard on his shooting, developing arc on his jump shot. He's super quick. He can be a good defensive player, good rebounder. So he's got great potential.
Is it too soon to say that there's been a ripple effect? Do you see Curry, you see like summer league games where kids are better shooters than they were 2 years ago, working on it more?
Yeah, everybody talks about his arc and how he shoots at a much bigger rim than everybody else, proven with his statistical stuff that he puts forth. He does shoot at a bigger rim. The amazing thing, he made 78 threes on the move in a row, and I think it was 93 out of 100, whatever it was on the move. The amazing thing about him, and you didn't see this at Davidson, certainly. You thought he could make it at Davidson. And is how he's evolved and what he's done for the thinking of the league, because everybody in the NBA was, when Golden State won, it said, we need to go small, and the Dwight Howards are no longer what everybody's looking for now. Everybody wants to go small, and then Cleveland did it. They went small. So it's sometimes I remember Bobby Knight when he went undefeated with that team at Indiana. Every high school and every college team was trying to run pure motion, and now going small, and some of the way Golden State started out last night with Iguodala in the starting lineup, you're not seeing the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's with the back to the basket move and everybody cutting off back to the basket. The game has really changed in front of us in a 2-year span.
Coach, since we're talking, it's hard not to talk about it because that series was so compelling. I want to ask you something about analytics. Curry was plus 18 last night, and I know you have the stats that you post on your site that you all keep peculiar to your team. Do you put any store in either individual or unit plus or minus?
You know, we track it, but I don't think necessarily you can put a whole lot of validity into it. Now, you can in the playoffs, but sometimes it's who you're playing against, the team you're playing against, and their units, but it does have more value in the playoffs.
So it's not something that you pay a lot of attention to here?
I don't, no.
Is it hard for you to watch Billy go away with a 3-game lead in that series, just for you personally?
He did a great job this year. In his first year in the NBA, he was one of the outstanding coaches in the NBA this season. He did a top 5 job. The NBA is a players' league, and coaches are sort of like CEOs. They manage the people and put them in a situation the best they can, and he has a great unit. The difficulty is when you lose at home. You had to win that home game, and once you lose that home game and you go back, and that was a great game last night. They could have won the game. They certainly played with terrific grit, but he had a tremendous first year in the NBA as a basketball coach, and he just ran into the Splash Brothers, and they are incredible. Thompson, everybody speaks about him certainly, but he makes shots that are unreal as well. He may not have Steph's arc, but he gets it off as quick as anybody I've seen. He's phenomenal as well.
Coach, one of the players that you all were allegedly going after, Canyon Barry, it's been reported as saying that he was concerned about the situation with the NCAA investigation. Have you found in your all recruiting any resistance at all because of that situation where some kids are just saying, I don't want to?
Not at all. We think, we're going to move forward with this. We feel very good about our future. With Canyon, to be honest with you, we called him, but, when you have Dangadell, VJ King, okay, you play 2 guard, you have Donovan Mitchell, this is a tough thing to crack here. Now, we liked him as a basketball player. We inquired about him as a basketball player, but, I think that's competitors saying that about us more than reality. So, look at VJ King, for instance. Here's a McDonald's All-American. He thought probation was going to be this coming year because we didn't self-impose at the time he committed. He didn't waver at all. He just said, I'm coming, and there's no problem with it. So we haven't had any resistance whatsoever. Matter of fact, we're off to a great start recruiting-wise.
Do you anticipate that the roster you have now will be what you have when the season starts?
I do.
You won't add anybody?
I do. I think what we're planning on right now is taking those 2 scholarships and creating that penalty right now.
Does that, I don't want to say make it eat, but to kind of put that behind you?
I think that's why we're doing it. We want to get, we want to get everything behind us. It was a very difficult year emotionally. It was a very difficult year and disappointment for all of us. And we'd like to put every single thing about this year behind us. And we'd like the past to be, sometimes you cherish the past, and then other times you like to forget the past, and we'd like to forget this past.
How concerned are you that there'll be more penalties? Is that that something?
I'm personally not, no. But that doesn't mean anything. That's just my feelings. I think that we've paid a very serious price. I said we're the most profitable program in the country, we're the most valuable program in the country. We paid a hefty, forgetting all the other things, the no NCAA, the limited recruiting, the sanctions, the embarrassment, everything. We've lost millions of dollars as well that you don't even realize.
Was that from like just the share that you get from being a...
No, it's from a lot of revenue that would have been created by going to the NCAA tournament. And, we felt we had a legitimate chance of being a Final Four contender and winning a national championship. You go to a Final Four, it means a lot for your future, merchandise-wise, as well as promoting the university. It's a big deal. You could just see what it's done for Villanova.
What do you hope to see from BJ King this summer?
He's going to have it. I mean, he's a terrific competitor, and he's also very talented, but he's going to be going against Deng Adel. It's going to be a fun matchup to watch because they're both great competitors, but Deng Adel's very experienced right now, and like I said, he's an extremely talented young man. Our fans really didn't see Deng Adel, because everybody got very encouraged about him in Puerto Rico, and then he hurt himself. And then at the end of the year, he started coming on.
Talk about your staff and talk about having David as a full-time guy and maybe what responsibilities change, if any, with the three guys.
Well, it's always great when you have a staff member that not only played the game, but played for you in that regard, because David is somebody who can take the big men, get out there, show them what to do. David was a great high post passer. We run a lot of high post stuff. And if there's one area of improvement we need to make with the bigs, it's in the passing department. And David was great at that, so he can now get on the court and demonstrate it himself.
Rick, how did you put the season behind you? I mean, immediately afterward, how did you kind of wind down and compartmentalize everything that's happened in the investigation and really move on?
It still bothers me. I'm not going to lie to you. It bothers me, when a trust is broken and something that none of us at all believe in. Like I've said 1,000 times, I still have sleepless nights thinking, why did you do something like this? There's no motive, no good motive, except somebody trying to be something he's not. And so you put it behind you by just getting encouraged and stimulated and excited about this schedule, the team we have, and now the potential to be a contender for a championship next year.
Where do Honest and Mangok stand with their health? Are they fully...
Honest is 100% healthy. Mango still needs a lot of rest, but he'll be ready for next season.
How's your health?
Good.
You talked about sleepless nights. Are you sleeping more now?
Yeah, if I drink enough, I do. No, I'm sleeping fine, and I'm in great health and great shape right now, but it took its toll, there's no question about it. But you all go through it yourselves. You all say perspective. You always have a lot when somebody in your family gets ill, and somebody very close to me had a difficult summer, going through a difficult time, and to me it's much more important than what we've been through basketball-wise. You always get perspective on that, and so I'm fine. Looking forward to this year, and very excited about it.
You mentioned Nanu. Why do you think he didn't maybe involve you as much as it seemed like you were very voluntary?
Different people have different. He has a brother that he relies on for advice. I was like a big brother to Terry and to Earl and T. Will and some of those guys, and Russ certainly, and Peyton. But certain families rely on certain people. I was not with Montrez, I was not either, and with a guy like Mashburn, I'm a business partner of his today. So you have different. It doesn't mean I don't root for them anymore, but some people rely on their parents more than coaches, and there's nothing wrong with that. The one thing I never get into as a coach, because if you said to me today, I'm going to be a pro coach, I need to go hire an agent, you may like 3 or 4 agents, and the guys that you like, I don't like, and so it's all a matter of your taste and what you want as a person. The only area I try to get involved in my players' lives when it comes to professionalism is the money part. What to do with your money, how to build wealth, how to make sure you don't get cheated, how you do not fall into the Antoine Walker syndrome of doing the wrong things. And Antoine came in and spoke to our team, by the way, about those things. And, just doing the right things and how to understand from 35 to 65 to make sure you set yourself up in life. I get involved when they want me to in those areas.
Speaking of pros, what's the prospects for Damian Lee?
I think he's going through what Trey's going through right now. They're going through workouts for professional teams, hoping to get drafted. Neither guy is very high on anybody's list right now, but Terry wasn't in the first round either. And you can go in there and impress people. One, you got to be in great shape because the workout's a lot tougher than you would imagine sitting here today. Back when I was with the Knicks as a head coach, the workouts weren't that difficult, and then years later I was with the Celtics, it was very difficult. So you're going to go through a hard workout, and some players will surrender to that. And a guy like Terry Rozier didn't, and he really moved up the ladder.
Rick, what do you think of the change of the Kentucky game day before Christmas?
I think it definitely means we're going to win. It's a major factor in us winning. No,
it's such a highly anticipated game, and the fact that it'll be in the middle of the week and at night and things like that.
It's a weeknight?
I think it's a Tuesday.
It'll be a weeknight.
Weeknight. Why is it, Kenny?
ESPN owns the rights to it.
That's your answer. But it will not make a difference. It'll still be sold out. They'll still get 5,000-6,000 of their fans somehow buying the place in, and just no matter what money, you can't keep them out.
What do the NBA guys like about Nanu?
He had a terrific combine. The thing that they like most about Nanu is his age. He's young. They like young. I've never understood this. I still can't. I understand going small. I understand old things that have transformed. I still don't understand the thinking of general managers. If I'm a general manager or a coach, I want older players, not younger players. I think that's one of the reasons why Scott Skiles left, is you want older players who are more mature, emotionally as well as physically, but everybody liked the younger the better. And so they like Nanu because he's very young.
How does his game translate to the NBA?
Well, he runs very well, and he has a terrific body, good wingspan. He learned to rebound out of his plane last year. He became a much better passer, very similar to Gorky becoming a much better passer. So it translates well.
You've talked in the past about getting your guys to buy into being a role player and not trying to be LeBron James when it comes to being drafted. Is that something that Damian and Nanu fully understood?
They never understand when I tell them that. Nobody wants to. Everybody wants to have a lead role. That's what they learn only when they get to the NBA. That on every basketball team, you've got Durant and Westbrook. You got the Splash Brothers. That doesn't mean that Iguodala does not have a major role. He does, certainly, as well as some of the other guys on each team. They have roles. But then there is, I watched Nazir Mohammed playing in his 31st year in the NBA. All he's doing is cheering the guys on, and when they come out of the game, he's instructing them like a coach, and he knows his role, and he does it beautifully. I watched him as much as the game the other night, and everybody has a role, and if Nazi understood his role better than anybody, what I said about accumulating wealth early, and Nazi understood it better than any player I've ever coached with the exception of Mashburn. He's got his communion money from the NBA. I mean, he's got it down.
Tom was pretty emphatic the other day about Adidas and that platform. Do you think at this point it hurt you in recruiting?
I will say this. Adidas has never one time gotten me a basketball player in my 15 years here. And Nike or Under Armour, they will not do anything wrong, but when those players go to those camps, you know what schools, the Nike schools and Under Armour schools, and they go after. Adidas is just not like that. They don't promote their schools to recruits. They just don't do that. They're more, maybe it's because they're more of a European outfit, but Adidas has never one time directed a player my way. And I never once asked them for the help. That's not why we're in this, but we're in for them to outfit us with shoes and apparel and things like that. And then we like their product very much. We like their shoes. We like their apparel, their uniforms. So we don't really look for their help.
Would you want it down the road, given the?
Yeah, I'd like some players sent my way now. No, look, like I said this a few years ago, I'd like to get the shoe companies out of the recruiting business completely. So, direct. I don't think kids should choose schools based on shoes.
After Snider and Donovan, how do you see the guard rotation?
Well, I have to see Tony Hicks. He's a combo guard. He looks great on film. He looks like he can score. Obviously, he scores well. You always have David Levitch, Mr. Dependable, that you can put in to any game. You can move either Deng or VJ to the backcourt if need be. If VJ just really blossoms as a freshman, you could do that. And then certainly we got to see what Ryan McMahon can do, because he's the best shooter on the team with the most range. So we got to see what he can do.
One more for Coach, anybody?
How about Ray Spalding? What's the jump you expect from him?
Well, I came in here late at night, and he's come a long way because he was playing one-on-one at 11:30 at night in the gym with a girl. So he's gotten very dedicated to the game. No, it was not Adrian, and he was losing. That's what really bothered me. And that is a true story. Not that he was losing, but he was playing.
I'd like to ask you about Howard Garfinkle. What was it? He's revered as his ability to perceive players' talent, and just your reflections on that.
Well, I've known Goff was my. I first met Goff. He was my. We were at Jack Donahue's Friendship Farm in Saugerties, New York, basketball camp. And in every bunk, you stayed in these cabins. In every bunk, you had an All-American from either North Carolina or South Carolina as your lead counselor. And who did my bunk get but Howard Garfinkle? And it was the biggest disappointment. We went to a high school coach, tried to axe him out of this bunk, knowing nothing about him, the strange-looking Woody Allen type character. And he woke us up every morning with his stale cigarette smoke, which he'd light up right next to my bed. And we decided that we were so tired of him, we took all his clothes at lunchtime and put him into the woods and hung him on all the trees. And that was the first time I saw Goff get upset. From that point on, when I told him where the clothes were and I had nothing to do with it, from that point on we became very close friends for the next 40 some odd years. And I was a player at his camp, I was a counselor at his camp, a coach at his camp, and the thing I said at his funeral that is so true wasn't necessarily his ability to rate players. That wasn't it. His basketball camp was a bridge for so many of us to cross. It was Carnegie Hall of basketball. It was the stage. There was no AAU basketball. At that time, there was 1 week where all the great players in the country would come to and compete. Then there were 2 weeks, and then they changed the site to Coriopolis in Pittsburgh. But there was no AAU basketball back then to perform in front of college coaches. There were 300 college coaches watching you in this one gym floor in an all-star game. And he was incredible at that. And when he introduced you as a speaker or as a coach, it was like you were being introduced at Carnegie Hall. And it was the eeriest thing at his funeral because I haven't been to a Jewish service funeral where you go to the gravesite and you take some dirt and a shovel and twice throw it into the grave, and it was the toughest thing I've had to experience in a long time doing that for such a dear friend. But I understand why it gives you closure, but he will be sorely missed by so many people, but so many of us, going back from to Bobby Knight to U.B. Brown to Chuck Daly, Dean Smith, I sat there, Dick Vitale, I sat there as a camper listening to those lectures, and he helped so many people their career. And the one thing that nobody ever mentions about Howard Garfinkle, they just talk about the five-star camp and how he's made so many coaches rise the ladder of success, is how many Division II, III scholarship kids that he got scholarships, how many Division II and III players that he got scholarships for. Thousands of kids without scholarships, he reached out, promoted them, and got them scholarships. So thousands of us coaches, counselors, players crossed over that bridge that he built. And today we've prospered because of Howard Garfinkle, and he's going to be sorely missed in our game. Thank you all.
Thank you.